welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We talk about the NBA, which we're doing on Sunday evening as we begin another glorious, low-stress week in the NBA offseason. We've been working all year for this, guys, so I know about it, anybody else, but I'm enjoying it. Joining us from New York City, where he's just had his fantasy football draft. We'll see how well he did. It's Tim Bontemps.
I did well in the fantasy draft, but K-Bon goes back to work on Monday, so I'm doing solo dad duty for a while. So it's not exactly low stress for me.
It's going to be rough. Did you, like the Cleveland Browns, keep 4 quarterbacks?
Someone tried to draft 4 of the top, 7 quarterbacks in an auction draft and had a very large bid out on Patrick Mahomes that people stupidly let him out of, and he would have had no team. But I feel very good about my team. I think I'm going to win the league, so we'll see how it goes.
Joining us from Dallas, Texas is Ben MacMahon. MacMahon, could you stand even the concept of having Bontemps in your fantasy league? I think it would be brutal.
Howdy, partners. Yes, I could, because I do like easy wins. Bontemps feels as good about his draft as he did about the 76ers summer a year ago. Okay.
Hey, if it ends up that bad, I'm going to be out some money, but I like my chances a little bit better than that.
And now, to present today's trivia question, the whiz of the quiz, Brian Windhorst.
Okay, here's a trivia question. In the last week, there has, since we last did a podcast, I don't know if it might have been more recently than a week, there was an offer sheet given out, and in the NBA, a restricted free agent signed an offer sheet, and it was unmatched, and the restricted free agent joined a new team. Do you know who that player is?
I do know who it is. I don't know if MacMahon does.
It is not Jonathan Kuminga.
You got to guess, MacMahon, or no?
No.
He'll never guess it. If he doesn't know, he doesn't.
The Hawks signed N'Faly Dante, who was with the Rockets last year.
Oh, I did.
And the Rockets couldn't match it without getting rid of somebody. So it essentially became not exactly, but it became sort of a trade of Clint Capella for N'Faly Dante, who's a pretty interesting young center. So
I mean, I don't know how interesting he is. He's 24 years old, but he is a center. I would say he's played 4 games.
Pretty big G League numbers at least. I mean, it's worth a swing.
Okay, fine. I would just say that he's played 4 games in his career. I would just say there's a very fair chance that he has played the fewest games by a lot of anybody who's ever gotten an offer sheet in the NBA. So
yeah, probably.
There was a restricted free agent action for all the people that are asking me questions on social media about Jonathan Kuminga, and I get them all the time, and Josh Giddey and Cam Thomas. You never know when you might see an offer sheet in the NBA. There you go. We have restricted free agent action. And the Hawks continuing to take advantage of teams not being able to retain players. I know it's a bit of a stretch, but it's just a reminder that they took advantage of the Celtics not being able to afford Kristaps Porzingis, and they took advantage of the Timberwolves not being able to afford Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I know this is pretty far down. This is the edge player, but it's an interesting strategy. But what do you want me to say? It's the end of August. Okay, so we've got finally some good basketball here, and we've reached the end of August. Beginning on Wednesday, EuroBasket 2025 will begin. It is, historically one of the most intense basketball events on the planet. This year, it has as good of a collection of star players from the NBA as there's ever been. A number
steady stream of executives going over to watch either the quarterfinals or the first part of it or both.
Yes, we've already seen. I was talking to an executive who was at the Serbia played Slovenia, Doncic versus Luka a couple of days ago. The Serbians won. The Serbians
Jokic versus Luka.
What did I say? Doncic versus Luka?
Yes.
Jokic versus Doncic.
That's been quite a matchup over the years too, but go on.
By the way, I will say that the Serbians are one of 3 teams that were undefeated in the run-up games. Whiz of the quiz. Who were the 3 teams that were undefeated in the warm-up games?
I'm giving this to MacMahon, the guy who wrote the book on the European star. I bet he knows.
Well, certainly Slovenia is not one of them.
No.
They got beat by 30 some odd by Serbia, and I think they won 1-4 in their game.
They lost to Latvia too, right? In the game Luka got hurt in.
They did. So it is Serbia,
Yes.
France,
Yes.
despite the fact that there's no Wemby or Gobert.
That's right.
2 of the 3 big names I would say aren't in the tournament.
Yes, those are the big names that are not in, that are not.
Bonus being the other big name, all-star caliber player or all-star player who's not in there.
Giannis is in the tournament.
Correct. And so is one-time all-star Lauri Markkanen, whose Finnish team went undefeated during the.
Attaboy, MacMahon. You are all over the EuroBasket warm-up games. By the way, in a game against Belgium, Lauri Markkanen had 48 points on 17 of 24 shooting a couple of weeks ago.
I actually think it's worth starting with Markkanen too, because if you go back a couple of years ago when Will Hardy got the Jazz job, he went over and watched Markkanen play with Finland in this tournament and came back and set up a lot of stuff for the Jazz to run through Markkanen in the same way he did with the Finnish national team. And he had by far the best year of his career, made an all-star team, to MacMahon's point, and launched himself into a new stratosphere, including getting himself a very large contract extension. I'm very curious to see, after the way last year went, which he did not play great. Obviously, the Jazz had intentions of trying to be at the bottom of the standings.
He didn't play much. He didn't play great.
Well, yes, he didn't play a lot, and he didn't play great when he did play. So he is not seen in the same light he was coming off of that first season under Will Hardy. And I'm very curious with him playing with the Finnish national team. They've got a chance to make a run potentially in this tournament. I'm curious to see if that becomes a springboard for him to come back with the Jazz and look much more like the player he was a couple of years ago. Because if he is, A, it's obviously good for the Jazz just to have him playing like that again. And B, he becomes an interesting guy, I think, to watch in the trade market over the next year to see if this is the time when Utah decides to move on from him, if he is back to looking like an all-star and they're trying to, continue to go in this youth direction.
But I think he has to play like that to restore his value in the trade market for trading him to become a conversation because of the contract that he got. I mean, he got every single penny that they could give him on what was a renegotiation and extension. And, it is a big, big contract. That and, I mean, obviously you're watching the young guys with the Jazz, or the only things to watch with the Jazz aside from lottery standings this year.
Just so people do know, as just real quick, the numbers on his extension: $46 million this year, $46 million again next year, 49.8 in 27, and 53.5 million in 28-29. All around 30% of the cap. More trivia.
And now, to present today's trivia question, the whiz of the quiz, Brian Windhorst.
What is the nickname of the Finnish national team? Not all national teams have nicknames, but
I couldn't begin to
hazard. Like, for example, the Australians are known as the Boomers.
It's
the Solanis, the Teemu Solanis.
No, it's the lines. They're the Finnish lines.
The Wolfpack. You learn something new every day.
That was a pretty good line, MacMahon. I'll give you that. That was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
All right. Well, Finland, I believe, is hosting. It's being held in
they're hosting maybe one of the regionals. The
regionals,
medal round is in Latvia, in Riga.
Latvia. By the way, I was talking to a scout who was at the Slovenia Serbia game last week, and his assessment was, MacMahon, Slovenia's got nothing.
Nothing, dude. Honestly,
Well, MacMahon went through that the other day with all the guys that have been lost from the team.
By a pro. Verified.
Listen, I've talked about Luka's loyalty being evidenced by the fact he's playing for Slovenia, period. And so, when he had a Spanish passport, he could have tried to weasel his way into Serbia, before he played for anybody. The fact he's playing for Slovenia this summer just tells you this guy, he will play no matter what. He is the only player on that roster with a second of NBA experience. Vlatko Cancar, who's with the Nuggets for a while, his European team would not let him play. They also have the rights to the naturalized lob threat, Josh Nebo. And let me tell you, a really important player on the Slovenian national team roster is whoever their naturalized lob threat is. Well, they don't have that guy. They don't grow lob threats in Slovenia, folks. So
why? Well, I meant to ask you, why isn't he playing, MacMahon?
I'm pretty sure he's with the same club as Cancar, and basically they blocked him from playing. And it was too late in the process for Slovenia.
Yeah, they both play for Milano.
Yeah, it was too late in the process for Slovenia to go out and get another guy recruited and through the passport process and all that. And then Zoran Dragic, Goran's little brother, or maybe little brother, who had just a cup of coffee in the NBA, but long-time fixture on the Slovenian national team, basically was told, "Hey, man, you really ain't cutting it." And his wife was blasting the coach on social media. Goran had some, kind of cryptic things on social media, but it's Luka, and I don't even know. There might be one or two guys in the roster I'd have to check who are EuroLeague players. But it's this is by far the least talented roster since Luka's been playing for the Slovenian national team.
Yeah, so if you want to watch Luka play, if you're a Laker fan, you want to watch Luka play, and I'll tell you in a minute how you can watch these games. You may want to get to it sooner rather than later because I'm not sure he's going to be around past the group stage. And you can watch these games if you want to stream them. You can go to FIBA's website and they have a streaming service. Listen, I'm not advocating that you want to get up in the morning and watch these games. We'll keep an eye on it for you and tell you about what's going on. But they do have a service called Courtside 1891. Why is it called 1891? Trivia?
Oh, I don't know, but they get my money. Why is it? Is that when FIBA was launched?
No, that's when basketball was invented by James Naismith, Beach Baskets, whatnot.
I should have known that.
I believe it was something like December 21st, 1891 or something like that was when basketball was invented, supposedly. Okay. Anyway, so if you want to watch Luka, you can do it there.
You guys know about the best plus minus number in that Serbia-Slovenia game, a 106-72 win for Serbia?
I don't know off the top of my head, but you're asking it in a very I'm smart and I want to talk about somebody fashion.
Nikola Jovic is what I'm going to guess.
It is Nikola Jovic, who I just happened to look at the box because I was trying to see who was on the Slovenian team. And he has had a couple nice games early on for Serbia, and he's another guy who this is to me going to be a pretty interesting and important tournament for him because he's got a chance to potentially start for the Heat this year. He's, I believe, up for an extension. Brian's usually on top of that stuff. And that negotiation could potentially be interesting. He's still very young. He's shown some flashes. The Heat have liked him. And again, like the way their roster's set up, I think there's a real good chance for him to be the starting four. And, he's going to be probably the starting four in this tournament next to Jokic, or at least playing a lot for them. So it'll be interesting to see how he does.
So the named players for Serbia are Bogdan Bogdanovic, who is going into the final year of his contract with the Clippers. He is extension eligible, but certainly a player who will be potentially a factor in the trade market. He was obviously a factor in the trade market last year. I assume the Clippers are intending to start the season with him, but he's a guy that we'll probably hear about in the trade market, depending on how the Clippers season goes. Nikola Jovic, who last year, remember, there was a couple of times where the Heat were seen more as buyers. When with the Jimmy Butler stuff, they weren't. They were linked to Kevin Durant, and there were times where the Heat may have been buying and putting draft picks and stuff into deals, or rumored at least. And the young player that a lot of people want out of there, the two young players are Jaime Jaquez, who had a setback season last year, and people thought might be a little undervalued, and Nikola Jovic, who we've talked about in the pod before, is still very young. He's probably 2 or 3 years younger than Jaquez, frankly.
By the way, the game before Slovenia, I forgot who they were playing, but Jovic had a huge
game.
Crazy game. Spoelstra was sitting courtside for that one.
Yeah, Spoelstra has been over in Europe. He went over to see the Swedish national team, the guy that they just drafted out of Illinois, who I'm not going to botch his name.
And to your point, Brian, Jovic just turned 22. Jaquez is 24 and a half.
Yeah, so I'll just say that, and obviously Nikola Jokic. So Bogdanovic, Jokic, and Jovic.
Jokic is pretty good.
By the way, Nikola Topic did not make the cut for this. The lottery pick who will be entering his redshirt rookie season for the Thunder. They've got a lot of guards, including Micic, who I'm not sure is Micic still on an NBA roster. I think he might be back in Finland. Anyway, they've got a lot of guards.
He's back in Europe.
Okay, they've got a lot of guards who have a lot of experience for the national team. So Topic is going to have to wait his turn, which is too bad. I was actually looking forward to seeing to watching him play in this tournament.
Yeah, Topic tore his ACL. A year and a half ago now, and the teams knew he was going to miss pretty much the whole season. At the 2024 draft, the Thunder picked him up at the end of the lottery, sat him out all last year. He was doing some workouts before some playoffs, some conference finals and finals games, but I'm not here to take a guess on what I see in a workout. But he's a guy that
he played summer league.
He did play summer league. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so Serbia is obviously going to be a team to watch. They're very strong favorites. They have essentially their whole team. They've got just tremendous size on their roster, and they will have pretty much the exact same roster that they had last year in Paris for the Olympics, and so that's why when they won the bronze, and that's why they are regarded as the favorite. Some other teams to watch out for, the Germans, who are the reigning FIBA World Cup champions. They won the World Cup 2 summers ago, beat the Americans in the semifinals. Reigning World Cup MVP and brand new Sacramento King, Dennis Schroeder, is their leader, and Franz Wagner is on the roster as well. Obviously, Mo Wagner, recovering from an ACL tear, will not be playing. So the Germans will be very strong. As far as the French go, so no Victor Wembanyama, even though he's been cleared for basketball activities coming off of the blood clot that he had in the spring. I am looking forward to Victor having a media session when he gets when the season starts, so that he can, if he chooses to answer. Because I'm pretty sure he had some surgery to get rid of that clot, which is concerning to hear, but on the other hand, actually is a good thing, because it means they were correcting something that caused the clot, as opposed to it being systemic, which would threaten his career. So
that was the same. I think we talked about at the time. That was the same thing that happened with Ingram, right? Same shoulder, same procedure, at least that we think.
Yes, without trying to be into a doctor, sometimes players who are a little bit more slightly built, like a player, Ingram and Wembanyama, there's something that with their ribs that potentially, with repetitive motion with shooting, can cause a clot in their shoulder area. And so obviously Brandon Ingram has had a very successful career on a brand new contract. And so That's the outlook is very good, but he wasn't ready to go for the French. I'm sure he would have wanted to play in this. He has said in the past that, playing, if he wants to play for the national team as much as he possibly can. And so, but obviously he's just with, coming off the issue, is not ready to go. There are four current NBA players playing for the French national team, and they are France and Serbia are at the top of the list in terms of favorites for this tournament. So you have Bilal Coulibaly from the Wizards, who is this is a guy who I would like to see have a great tournament, Coulibaly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then his teammate, Alex Sarr, who had a good finish to his rookie year last year. Brand new New York Knick, Gershon Yabusele, who was awesome in the Olympics for the French last year. Pretty much got him a job back in the NBA after he played great. He signed with the Sixers in September. Then he had a good year for the Sixers, and the Knicks got him. And then last year's number 1 overall pick, Zachary Richichet, who we heard Larry Nance talk on the pod last week. Talk him up about what he has seen with him on the Hawks. He's happy about. He's very bullish on Richichet's future.
It's an interesting team because so many of these European teams typically are dominated by veteran players, right? Just like the culture in Europe typically is the young guys wait their turn and veterans play, both with the club teams and nationally. And this French team is very interesting because, as you just laid out, the three probably primary players on the team are going to wind up being, in a lot of ways, Alex Sarr, Zach Richichet, and Bilal Coulibaly. And for all three of those guys, obviously, the number 1 and 2 picks in last year's draft, Coulibaly was the 7th pick, coming out as a super young guy who had played with Victor with Metropolitans 92 the year before. This is a huge opportunity for those guys to be playing in super high leverage games, getting a ton of experience, having the ball in their hands, doing a lot of stuff. Like, it for all three of those guys, I think it could be a real opportunity to see them doing stuff in a pretty big stage, and could give us another indication of what they could look like this season in the league.
I would say Yabusele will still be probably their primary scorer. But look, French has been a power for a while, and the mainstays from their decade plus as a power are not playing. I'm talking about Rudy Gobert, Nicolas Batum, and
Yvan Fournier.
Yeah, Fournier.
Yeah, who just retired, didn't he?
Yes.
He and Marco Bellinelli both just retired.
Yes. Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, though, will be back on the team after not playing in the Olympics with them last year.
By the way, you know who else isn't playing? And help me with the name, Wendy. I know you'll be able to get it, but the really good EuroLeague kind of undersized big who they were pairing with Wemby a lot while Gobert was watching. Matthias, is it Lesort?
Yes.
Matthias he tore his ACL last year. Yeah. So he's out.
He was a very rugged player. One of their leading scorers in their run-up games is former NBA player Theo Maledon. So, but a guy who was great in the Olympics last year, and has said that he would love to play in the NBA, and he's a combo guard, and I don't know if he's great in this tournament. Maybe he'll get a chance. Is Isaiah Cordonier, who was sort of a breakout star in the Olympics last year. I would actually expect him to have a big tournament. But anyway, I mean, if you get a situation where France plays Serbia and you got nothing going on in the morning, I feel like that could be like a semifinal on like a Friday or Saturday morning. That's something if you got nothing better to do, after Labor Day.
Yeah, hey,
that would be worth it.
Have a croissant with your coffee and check that out.
Yeah. Okay. Some of the other players that are playing over there, I would keep an eye on Team Turkey. Turkey is how they are.
Listen, Jackson just sent us the ESPN bet odds, and Turkey is not top 7 in those. That's interesting.
Yes. Well, Turkey did not qualify for the World Cup or the Olympics. And so they are, but they've been a team that has in the past had a lot of success. So they have some NBA players now. Now I'm just going to say, obviously, their headliner is a Houston Rocket all-star, Alperen Şengün, and one of the greatest players in the history of the Turkish league, Shane Larkin.
Yes, former Maverick and another NBA team or two. By the way, Shane Larkin, the guy who the Mavericks ended up with in the draft when they traded down from 13, despite Donnie Nelson's advice to take that rough Greek kid, to 16 to 18. They ended up with Shane Larkin in that draft. He's become a heck of a EuroLeague player over there in Turkey. Is a naturalized citizen and has been a mainstay on their national team for a while
and has
now.
made a ton of money.
Yes.
There's money to be made in the Turkish league.
No, seriously, Shane Larkin is a Turkish legend.
Yeah, I mean, he's become. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we don't obviously pay attention to the EuroLeague extensively on the pod, but like, if you're playing for one of these top EuroLeague teams like Efes, Anadolu Efes, which is in Istanbul, the team Shane Larkin plays for, you're making several $7 million a year after taxes playing for teams like that as one of the star players. So, I mean, and he's had he was with the Celtics, I think, the year before he went over as their 15th guy, and he's gone over there and had an awesome career. It's like you said, he's become a naturalized citizen. You look through this roster, there's a whole bunch of guys who have had either are in the NBA or have had NBA experience that are on this team.
So the Larkin thing, sort of the funny Larkin story, well, it's probably not funny to him or his dad, who was a baseball Hall of Famer, Barry Larkin, was when he came into the league that Phil Jackson, who was running the Knicks at the time, purportedly didn't want to draft him because he said his hands were too small. And whatever the measurements were at the combine, there's a reason why they measure players' hands, and his measurements did come in, on the smaller end or whatever. And I remember Larkin was quoted on it, and he said, "I've never heard one man. I've never met a man so concerned with the size of another man's hands." Which, whatever. Like,
he must not have been. He doesn't follow the NFL combine with quarterbacks then, because let me tell you get a quarterback with small hands, you got some issues.
That's a Texan talking right there. But anyway, so Turkey's team also has Adem Bona from the 76ers, longtime former NBA players now playing overseas, Cedi Osman, NBA big man who's been a bit of a journeyman, Omar Yurtseven. Another NBA journeyman, Furkan Korkmaz. I'm not advising anybody to go put a bet down on Turkey, just to be clear. But for them to be plus 2,000, the same as Slovenia, I don't know. We
could also probably just call them Turkey. We probably don't need to say Turkey.
No, hold on.
I'm a man of the world, sir. I am a man of the world.
No, okay. We're getting international windy. If you do that, then you've got to go Slovenia.
Yeah.
There's a J fine. When they say it.
That's fine. But
pronounce as a Y, but yes.
They specifically want to be known as Turkey. Okay. So what do you want me to say?
Turkey.
So Spain has for decades been
España.
If you're going to do that,
you know what? Listen, I respect that. Like, this is one of the things that I say. Like, this is, I'm not going to get into that, but that is a fair point. That is a fair point. We don't call them Italia. So for decades, Spain has been neck and neck with the Americans, the top of the world. They've won several World Cups, famously went nose to nose with the Americans in the 2008 final in Beijing. Put out some great players, obviously the Gasol twins, and a line of other great international players.
Ricky Rubio. Those are the mainstays for those great teams.
Yeah.
Well, this team, they've been sort of trending a little bit away from the elite for a while. Mm-hmm. And the only current NBA player that they have on their roster heading into this is the newly paid from the Memphis Grizzlies, Santi Aldama. Some former NBA players on there, namely the Hernan Gomez brothers, Juancho and Willie. But
they're the only two on the roster outside of Santi.
By the way, Willie is a Euro beast. You put him in FIBA.
Yes.
Some of these guys, like their games don't necessarily translate that well to the NBA, but he's a stud.
Yeah, he won the MVP award 2 years ago in the last tournament when Spain won.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, some of the other I shouldn't say the Americans, some of the other players watch. Okay, so the Greeks have the Antetokounmpo brothers.
By the way,
But
Thanasis is apparently the 12th man. The cut came down to him or a kid who's about to start his college career. And I had a feeling that Thanasis would win out on that one.
you were correct. And more importantly, Giannis Antetokounmpo is on the roster. They took some losses in their run-up games. The international game, I think they might have been I think they played 6 or 7 games. Giannis didn't play in all of them. I think they were 4-3.
Yeah, he didn't play in most of them.
Yeah. He did
They
play.
They got smoked by France with him playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. He played the other day and scored 20 points. The thing about it is, and I'm not going to imply that he won't have a great tournament. The international game is tough on Giannis because they can just beat the hell out of him and they just flop incessantly in front of him.
Well, and because the spacing is completely different with that lane and that style of play. And this is something Luka's rookie year, he said something about like how much easier it is to score in the NBA than Europe. And people try to make it a thing like he was taking a shot at NBA defense or whatever. All he was saying is the spacing is completely different and much more wide open in the NBA than it is in Europe. And that obviously makes it a lot tougher on Giannis, who's the best downhill attacker in the world.
Yeah, you can play zone. You can do all sorts of stuff to take away the rim in a way that in the NBA you can't.
Yeah.
And the Greeks have a couple
guys. There's no defensive 3 seconds there.
No. So, the Greeks have a couple guys. They've Kostas Papanikolaou, who had a brief cup of coffee in the league. Tyler Dorsey.
You just wanted to pronounce the name.
No, I'm just looking at the roster to see. I've not been studying the EuroLeague rosters, but Tyler Dorsey played at Oregon. I think he was with Dallas for a second, right?
Very briefly, yep.
I believe the Greeks refer to their country as Hellas.
They do. But yeah, I mean, the Greeks shouldn't be a medal threat, really.
If you're in a neighboring country, you can get on the highway to Hellas.
Did you mention Tyler Dorsey, former NBA player?
I literally just got to talking about him.
I thought you just said that. All right. By the way, when we mentioned German, I didn't mention Tristan da Silva from the Magic, who had a pretty good rookie season. He is also on the German roster. So I forgot to mention him when I mentioned the other guys. And is Daniel Tice still in the NBA? I think he went overseas.
He's not still in the NBA, but obviously had a long run in the NBA.
Yeah. Also, Isaac Bonga, who's been in and out of the NBA on the Der Deutschlands roster. Okay, so a team that is not, again, I'm not advising anybody to bet any money on this whatsoever. I'm just going to state a couple of facts. I'm just going to say that, as we said at the beginning, that
I'm not going to make a prediction, but I'm going to kind of lean toward a prediction. Then I'm going to back away at the last
Jackson,
second.
where is Latvia on ESPN bets odds? Because Latvia,
careful.
What?
They've struggled in the little friendlies.
They are 9th in the odds, according to Jackson, plus 2,200. They reached the round of 8 and almost beat the Germans in the World Cup in 2023.
With no KP.
With Porzingis sitting on the bench. Kristaps Porzingis is playing. And, they are the hosts. They are hosting.
If they can get to the medal round,
it's
going to be.
But they made it to the medal round of the World Cup.
If they can get to the medal round, it's going to be awfully interesting. Having home court advantage.
They've got Davis Bertans and his brother.
Yeah, Darius and Davis Bertans. The thing about it is so many of these European teams have bigs. Like, Porzingis is actually a guy that we're going to be keeping a close eye on because of the issues that he had at the end of the season with the Celtics. Bontemps and I were there at the end of the season when the Celtics were eliminated. And I think you were with me when we talked to Chris Apps, sitting in the locker room in Madison Square Garden, and he was like, "I'm just going to go to the beach for a while and hope I feel better." And I'm sure it was more than that. I'm sure there was more medical than that, but he. But former Brooklyn Net product, Rodi Kurucs. Am I saying that right, Bontemps? That's your era.
Yes, Rodions Kurucs.
He had an injury and is out for this. That was a blow to the Latvians. When I met Rodi when he was a rookie, he said, "Call me Rodi."
Oh, wow.
That was like a decade ago. I'm just sticking with that. But Latvia is a team that I don't know. They're probably 20 plus 2,200 for a reason. I'm just saying.
Well, they're in a group. They're in a group with Slovenia and Turkey. So it's going to be not Slovenia, Serbia and Turkey.
Oh,
so
I was like Slovenia. I would feel good about them against.
No,
Slovenia,
yes, it's Serbia and Turkey. They're the three best teams in that group.
By the way, Rodi Kurucs is for those who play the Immaculate Grid on Basketball Reference. When you get Rockets Nets, he's the one you can put in there who's going to get you a really low percentage. He was one of the guys he's the forgotten piece from the Harden trade.
Mm-hmm.
If the NBA offseason was a couple weeks longer, we could do an Immaculate Grid podcast.
Listen,
we could.
I do think there's game show potential with that thing. I love that thing. I play it like a golf score. I always try to go low.
I did not remember that Rodi Kurucs played for the Rockets, so I would have been
very
in
briefly.
trouble there.
Ended his career with the Bucks. Even more briefly.
Yeah, well, that's another one you could put on there. All right, so a couple other players. So there's all these whenever you're playing an Eastern European team, you can pretty much be assured that they are giant. And that is the fact with this is one of the things that the Americans have run into problems with in the World Cups over the last couple of years. They barely beat Turkey. They barely beat Montenegro, who has some big guys, including Nikola Vucevic, who is playing with the with the Montenegrins. Another player who could see himself traded, maybe not before the season, but I think there's a reasonable chance that he could be traded during this season. Going into last year. Is it last year the contract, or does he have two left, Bontemps?
Talking about Nurkic?
He's going into last year of his deal.
Vucevic.
Both guys going into last year of their deal.
Yeah. So among the bigs playing in the Eastern European bigs, Jonas Valanciunas playing with Lithuania, traded to the Nuggets this offseason, and we had a little drama with that, but will be a Nugget going into the last year of his contract. He's non-guaranteed for next year, so that's a factor. So you've got Jonas Valanciunas, Lithuania, who beat the Americans in 2023, Nikola Vucevic in Montenegro, who almost beat the Americans in 2023. The Americans slipped past them in the round of 8 at the World Cup, and that's what clinched them the Olympic berth. Otherwise, had they had one more stub of their toe before they lost 2 more times to Germany and Canada, they would have had to have a last-minute qualifier, which wouldn't have been good. But they did beat the Montenegrins, but they're formidable. And then you mentioned Jusuf Nurkic, the Bosnian beast playing with Bosnia and Herzegovina. I don't think any of them are strong medal contenders.
By the way, Luka Garza also plays for Bosnia.
Oh, there's another beast from Bosnia too. So I mean, you're looking at, Nurkic, Garza, Porzingis, Vucevic, Valanciunas, Jokic, and then there's a bunch of other, Serbians who didn't play.
Yeah.
Like you go watch these events and you're just like,
and Germany's just got some lumberjacks on their roster, guys who the American people won't know, but they're
exactly right.
They'll dole out punishment and grab rebounds and set pick.
And real talk, we ain't got these guys.
Yeah.
Like we ain't got these guys, like it's an issue, and it's going to continue to be an issue in big events going forward.
By the way, one guy I love watching for Bosnia, an American dude named John Roberson, who like he's like Shane Larkin, that he's been over there for a long time, got his passport, has been a big part of Bosnia's national team. The reason I love watching this guy is because he's from around here. He won a state championship at Plano High School, which is probably like 10 minutes from my house, on a team that you'll appreciate this, Wendy. The freshman sixth man on that team was Rex Burkhead, longtime NFL running back and former Cornhusker.
Yeah,
Very
for
famous
sure.
in my neck of the woods. Yeah.
For sure.
They're celebrating.
name in a minute.
They're celebrating around here this weekend. The Nebraska Huskers volleyball, number one ranked, starting the season off with victories over two top 6 teams,
There you
Pitt
go.
and Stanford. By the way, on games that were both nationally televised. So, FYI, the only other player that I think I want to mention here, unless you guys think I missed somebody, the Israelis are playing in this event, and Portland Trailblazers stalwart, is that fair to say, for Denny Avdia, is on the team for Israel, and
I'm going to look up the definition of stalwart. It's a good word, though.
Thank you. I think he's the only guy with
well, loyal, reliable, and hardworking. I think he fits that.
I forgot to mention for the Italians, Italia, Danilo Gallinari, fresh off winning the Puerto Rican League. First off, Danilo Gallinari, also on the team, by the way, Simone Fontecchio, newest member of the Miami Heat. He was in the sign and trade for Duncan Robinson with the Pistons. Danilo Gallinari goes to play in Puerto Rico in the spring. The Puerto Rican League has their finals run sort of concurrent to the NBA finals. Actually, maybe even a little later.
It's later.
And later. It goes into July.
Yeah, okay. It's a late spring summer league.
And players go to play in it who are sometimes looking to showcase themselves to NBA teams. It's like,
yeah, they're like other overseas leagues where they can have 2 Americans, and those spots pay 6 figures, but if you don't perform, you ain't there long.
Danilo's wife was swimming off the coast of Puerto Rico during the season and was bitten by a shark. And I got to check this. I think she might have been pregnant.
Oh, no.
She's fine. She's okay.
I believe that is correct. Story. I don't remember for sure either. And then he won his first ever championship in the Puerto Rican League. And was on the court when DeMarcus got thrown out of that game and thrown out of the league.
For
he was standing next to him when the fight started. Yeah,
by the way, Gallo's teammate on this Puerto Rican championship team, JaVale McGee. You want to win a ring? That's your ringer, JaVale McGee.
Team up with JaVale. And playing for Puerto Rican legend Carlos Arroyo's team in the league.
Yes. I've been to Puerto Rican national team game. When I was down there working on a story on J.J. Barea, we stopped by. Let me tell you, man, those games were rowdy and fun. That was the game. I forgot who the Americans that were playing. Oh, no, I do remember. Ricky Leto, a Maverick second-round pick, didn't last long here. He was playing there, and actually, I remember this very clearly. Anyways, he was on the visiting team, which was up big. The home team went on a big run in the fourth quarter. And I do remember this distinctly. The ball boy, who has also got the mop underneath the basket during a timeout, turned the mop around like it was a machine gun and acted like he was spraying down, heading back to the bench, while the public address announcer grabbed the microphone, stood up on the scores table, faced the crowd, and that place was wild. Anyways, old Ricky Leto, remember Paul George's corner 3 in the bubble?
Uh-huh.
That was Ricky Leto with a chance to. I forgot if it was to win or to send it in overtime, but it hit side of the glass, clank, and JJ's best friend, a dude named one of his best friends, a guy named Christian Santinella, is like the big agent down there in Puerto Rico, gets most of the Americans. Well, Lito was his client. We were all sitting down there watching the game, and right when that ball clanked off the backboard, he just goes, "Ah, bleep. This is going to be a long night." Ricky Lito was heading home the next morning.
They cut him next point. Gallinari's wife, she was bit in the thigh. By the way, she was 6 months pregnant, and she had her 2 other kids were out swimming with her.
Oh.
She's okay. She had surgery, and she was okay. The baby is okay. That is a scary story. So anyway, Gallinari, who is near the end of his career, I'm not sure I saw he gave an interview.
I think this might be it. I think EuroBasket might be his swan song.
Well, I saw he gave an interview where he said that he would love to go play for Milano, his hometown team, but Milano doesn't appear to be interested in him.
Wow.
So I don't know. Maybe he'll have a run with the Italians in this league or in this event. But yeah, but his wife is okay. She was 6 months pregnant at the time.
By the way, Clippers, Thunder on Immaculate Grid, put in Gallinari. Everybody's going to get Chris Paul. Everyone's going to get Shea, Paul George, Gallinari.
This is the beginning of an incredible feature.
I'm just telling you. You always put in the guys who.
I feel like there's got to be a better secret answer.
Probably.
Than Gallo.
I mean, but that's a good one. That's just,
sure.
Typically you're doing this thing while you're getting other stuff done during the morning. So.
Oh my God. It's time to go, everybody.
Some people play Wordle.
It's time.
I'm saying, it's like
it's time to go.
You want something quick.
On the next Hoop Collective, MacMahon reveals his top low, whatever you want, low score. Is that what you want? Low percentage?
The other thing, study. You got to study guys like Jimmy Jackson. Who's a good one to study? Rick Brunson. Guys who played for a whole bunch of different teams. But like the Jeff Greens, everyone knows Jeff Green and Ish Smith and those guys. Got to study the ones from the previous generations.
Amazing. When do you study those, MacMahon? All right. Thank you for sticking with us through another August podcast. Thank you to Jackson for putting it together. Thank you to Bontemps and MacMahon for always delivering the goods. Thank you for watching, listening to Hoop Collective. We'll talk to you later this week.
Adios, amigos.